standard than in the past, that the focus on the sectors of education and health, while still leaving much to be desired, is on the right track. And the effort of the Prime Minister to take along the other major political parties in Pakistan is also a sign of the thinking that dominates the Prime Minister and his senior colleagues, that a policy wherein you include people, an inclusive policy, an embracing policy is far more productive than one wherein you you engage in a loan fund. The next point is that when it comes to the issue of relations with our neighbors, and I'm talking particularly of India and Afghanistan, you will have seen once again a very visible resolve on the part of the Prime Minister to reach out to the leaderships in both Delhi and Kabul. This became evident, in fact, on the very first day when he held a telephonic conversation with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. And thereafter, we met the Indian Prime Minister in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA in September last year, and agreed on establishing a mechanism that would take care of the accusations that possibly LOC violations were taking place. And I want to tell you, I'm happy to tell you, that much of that concern has been taken care of. There have been stray incidents here and there, but thank God there have been no major incidents, and the mechanism of the two military, of the two Director Generals of Military Operations is working very well. But we did recognize that Mr. Manmohan Singh was facing elections, that the party after 10 years would find it difficult to make headway in the electoral process. And thereafter, when Mr. Modi won the elections, his party won the elections, and he took the initiative of extending an invitation to our Prime Minister, the Prime Minister accepted the invitation immediately, I want to tell you, because he recognized that it was important not to lose any time to establish personal contact with a Prime Minister who would be there for the next 5 years, who had a very strong mandate from the people of India. And therefore, the Prime Minister immediately thought back to the initiative that he had taken in the late 90s when he had reached out to the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Vajpayee, and their dialogue and consultations and meetings had led to what is popularly referred to as the Lahore Declaration, which contained for the first time in India-Pakistan relations a roadmap for the resolution of the differences between the two countries. Sadly, that roadmap was abandoned as a result of the military coup that took place a few months later. And ever since, the Prime Minister believes that because he has the popular mandate in Pakistan, he would be far more comfortable talking to a leader in India who too would be enjoying such a strong mandate. And therefore, I have no hesitation in sharing with you, and I'm sure many of you are privy to it, that the meeting between the two Prime Ministers in Delhi was a cordial meeting. There were no recriminations. Contrary to what you may have heard the Indian media speculate that afternoon, the two Prime Ministers in fact shared a common desire not to lose the opportunity once again as had been lost in 1999. The Prime Minister suggested that a mechanism should be established whereby the two national security advisors should establish a regular channel of communications, meet often in either capital. The Indian Prime Minister said that while he was not opposed to this, he wished to begin this process by establishing a foreign secretary level dialogue process. We immediately thereafter extended an invitation to the Indian Foreign Secretary, and as you may have seen in the papers, day before yesterday, the Indian Foreign Secretary telephoned her counterpart and informed us that she would be happy to accept our invitation to travel to Islamabad next month on the 24th, so that the two sides could have a meeting on the 25th of August. We also believe that the month of September could provide fresh opportunities for the two prime ministers to meet, one on the sidelines of the SCO summit meeting in Dushanbe on 11th and 12th of September, and then again, if the programs coincide, the Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is likely to come to New York for the UNGA, and we have heard from Delhi that Mr. Modi too is contemplating to be in New York around the same time. We believe that, and the Prime Minister said so to the Indian Prime Minister, that for 60 years we have been chasing a mirage. Mirage consisting of a belief that the acquisition of arms and advanced weapon systems would permit one side to prevail over the other. The Prime Minister was convinced this mirage had not only led us down the wrong road, but had resulted in disastrous wars and conflicts, and a relationship that continued to give more agony and pain to the populations rather than any comfort to them. And it was therefore time for both governments to take a firm decision to focus on the resolution of problems through the dialogue process, and at the same time identify areas where people-to-people contact could be improved, where larger numbers of media men, parliamentarians, businessmen could travel to each other, and also immediately ascertain where more meaningful cooperation could take place. Which is why, even before he assumed office, he received a delegation from the Indian Punjab to discuss how we could obtain a small amount, roughly 500 megawatt of power that the Indian Punjab was in a position to provide to us. And we are working on it. There are two different systems, and you would have to set up transmission lines and such things. But we are engaged with that process. We would also want to take measures to improve the life of the Kashmiris by permitting greater movement across the line of control, by encouraging trade between the two Kashmirs, and also of creating an ambience where the presence of the Indian troops could be reduced and the Kashmiris could be enabled to lead a more quote-unquote normal life there. Trade, talks on trade have gone on very well in the last 6 months. Many issues relating to trade had been resolved by the two foreign secretaries and confirmed by the two commerce secretaries and confirmed by the two commerce ministers. A few glitches, a few minor impediments are still on the way, and we sort of stayed short of the final formal announcement because we received indications from many quarters, including those in India, that should the non-discriminatory trading arrangements be finalized at that late stage when India was about to go to the polls, could be construed or misconstrued by some in Delhi as an effort by Pakistan to inject itself into the Indian electoral process. I'm telling you this off the record because we don't talk about it to the media. So we sort of pulled back and we said, if that be the case, that is the last thing we want to do. is to give anyone the impression that we have any preferences amongst the Indian political parties. In a couple of days, the commerce ministers will be meeting in Thimphu, which is in Bhutan, to pick up the threads and to see whether those few areas of concern, some relate to the non-tariff barriers, some relate to how the border arrangements have to be made, because incidentally our border arrangements are much poorer than those of the Indian side, and how a few other issues that remain unresolved can be resolved. The Prime Minister's decision in principle that Pakistan and India must enter into this non-discriminatory trading arrangements is firm, and should the dialogue process between the two commerce ministries lead to a successful resolution of what I have referred to as these minor issues, we should be able to make the formal announcement. Also, when I refer to the fact that the Indian Foreign Secretary will be coming to Islamabad, we believe it's important. Why is it important? Because India-Pakistan dialogue process has remained suspended. We have a large number of issues, whether it is 6 or 8 or 10, because now water and other things have been added to it. The fact is that India and Pakistan have to create a mechanism which can provide an umbrella under which all concerned ministries and all concerned departments can engage in an institutional manner over a sustained, it should be a sustained effort. Many, even in India and Pakistan, have said that this process should be uninterrupted. And what's the other word? Uninterruptible, or some such thing. One of your colleagues in Delhi said, maybe you had told him. Money Okay. Whatever nomenclature you give it, the fact is that this dialogue process, which had for the first time acquired an institutional framework as far back as May 1997, am I right? May 1997, when the two foreign secretaries had come to this agreement, has gone through various hiccups, interruptions. I think there is a need for the leadership of both countries to sit down and say that we must remain committed to this process. It is not merely Kashmir, and it is not merely terrorism. It's a whole host of issues that all need to be discussed under this umbrella. On Afghanistan, you will be happy to note that the administration has expressed its appreciation for the manner in which Pakistan extended its assistance during the course of the elections by sealing the borders, preventing movement of people, and also of agreeing to a better border management. That has been done. Here I want to, on my side, express our appreciation for the very bold and forthright manner in which Secretary Kerry decided to wade into the troubled politics of Kabul and literally pull back the rivals from a precipice. Why do I say that? Because peace in Afghanistan is as much important to us as peace in Pakistan. Because we recognize that there can be no peace in Pakistan unless there is peace in Afghanistan. The linkages are so many and so complex and so intrinsic that they will require, that they do not require elaboration. We also made it clear to Mr. Karzai during the course of more than 4 meetings that have taken place between Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and President Karzai that we would want to see Afghanistan becoming a truly independent and sovereign country, united with a government that enjoys both credibility and legitimacy. Why? Because credibility and legitimacy would help it in reaching out to various areas and various groups within Afghanistan, and also of obtaining the kind of continuing assistance that Afghanistan will need over the coming years. We are following very closely this whole process of counting or recounting of votes. We remain very hopeful that whatever formula is determined and finalized, whether it's a unity government, whether it is sharing of powers, whether it's the presidential system or the parliamentary system, whether it's the American system or the French system, whatever system you may wish to call it, as long as a government emerges that, as I stated, is legitimate, we'll be happy. We will reach out to that government, we'll extend it every possible support and assistance, we'll enhance our economic assistance, which we have already done from $380 to $500 million, and join the other neighboring countries in working towards ensuring that there is no interference and intervention in Afghanistan. There is no doubt that there is a recognition in Pakistan that whatever the earlier philosophical approaches may have been in Islamabad or elsewhere, where people have spoken of having friendly governments in Kabul or seeking strategic depth, all that is passé, it is history. We have learned our lessons and we hope others have as well. We are engaged towards this goal in our bilateral discussions with America, in trilateral discussions with the British and the Afghans and the Pakistanis, in quadrilateral discussions with the Afghans, the Turks, Pakistan, and the Brits. The Chinese have also shown increasing interest, and the Chinese wish to now engage in a more institutional consultations, and to this end, some of you may have heard only last week, the Chinese have for the first time appointed a special envoy for Afghanistan. And that special envoy wishes to engage in a process of consultations with the other neighboring country. The Heart of Asia process, the Chinese are giving it greater life, and the foreign secretaries are going to meet within the next week or so, and the foreign ministers are scheduled to meet next month in Tianjin, which is a few hundred kilometers away from Asia. We are supportive of all these efforts. Finally, because I want to leave enough time to all of you, the ongoing military operations in Pakistan, a very, very important development. It is for the first time that the government of Pakistan, after a great deal of debate, discussion and deliberation with the political parties as well as the military high command, came to the conclusion that the initiative taken to reach out to the militants through a dialogue process had not yielded the desired result. And therefore the government had no other option but to authorize the armed forces to initiate military action, I think around 14th June, 5-6 weeks ago. The air actions have been very effective. The sanctuaries have been blown up, safe havens destroyed, training camps overrun, hundreds of videos of training and IED manufacturing capacities, internet capacities, communication capacities, they have been either destroyed or captured. The ground operations have also begun, and these are the major towns up in North Waziristan. Mir Ali has been secured, Miran Shah has there moved into, and very soon the army is now planning to go up into the higher areas, the mountainous areas and some dense forest areas where the operations will be far more difficult. Young officers have lost their life, Jawan soldiers have lost their life, but the army chief has said so publicly and the Prime Minister has approved that these operations will continue till the objective of eliminating terrorism has been achieved. I wish to also stress here that the operation is against all terrorists of all denominations, of all colors and codes, whether they be Pakistanis or Afghans or Chinese or Uzbeks or Tajiks or whatever their nationality may be. I know since coming here that some newspapers have speculated that the Haqqanis may have fled. Quite natural. This was under discussion, this was being debated, this was questions being asked in the parliament every day, and people knew that the military operations was very much on the radar screen of the government and would be launched any day. So some have fled. But I want to point out here that we had made it very clear to the administration as well as to our Afghan brothers that military operations by the Pakistanis required similar action on the other side of the border. If the Taliban leadership, the TTP leadership, the ETIM leadership, the various Haqqani leadership, if they were fleeing Pakistan into Afghanistan, they needed to be taken care of on the other side of the border as well. Some of the US military officials are fond of talking of hammer and anvil, the phrase. Well, the hammer is swinging and swinging hard. We need to see more of the anvil on the other side for it to really be effective. We have also conveyed to our Afghan brothers that there are a number of very prominent Taliban leaders who have sought shelter in Afghanistan, and the sooner they are taken care of, the better it would be, and it would certainly promote the common interests of Pakistan, Afghanistan and the United States if this was done at an early stage. I have had meetings in the State Department, the White House, in a number of places, and I have conveyed to them also that while we already have 1 million people who have fled their home and have sought refuge, and we are providing them relief which has run into hundreds of millions of dollars. But for the first stages relief operations, we are not seeking any assistance from foreign countries. After the relief operations have ended and the militants eliminated, once these people start going back to their homes, we will enter the phase of settlement of these people and providing rehabilitation, which means housing, health, some kind of infrastructures in terms of health clinic or such thing. At that time, should the friendly countries wish to offer their assistance in the rehabilitation, we will welcome it, but we will not solicit any assistance from foreign powers, but we welcome it. We will also welcome greater cooperation and share intelligence with the United States, because we believe that we are both engaged in a common objective. And one last point I want to make, because Pakistan happily is off the radar screens, and that's always a matter of great satisfaction to us. But areas very close to Pakistan have now emerged as extremely worrisome. Now these areas may not be part of South Asia, but these are areas with which Pakistan has had historic relations, and what is happening in those areas is a matter of deep concern to us. We fear that this is a virus that could take us all within its fold, given the multi-ethnic, multinational, multi-sectarian society that Pakistan is. But Mr. Nawaz Sharif believes that A, having a government that is democratically elected, B, having a government that is focused on economic growth and development of the country, having a government that is reaching out to its neighbors and seeking to establish a relationship of cordiality and cooperation with them, it is Pakistan is far better placed today than at any time in the past to play a stabilizing role, play a role that the Obama administration talks of, a role of a country that is moderate, that is progressive, that wishes to see countries live in a state of economic cooperation and political cordiality, and also focusing on the needs of the people, which in my final remarks I'll say, we are on the right road. For the first time after many years, the economy has seen a small growth from 3.5 to 4.1%. We have seen a small growth in our reserves. We have seen a doubling of foreign exchange, foreign investment coming into Pakistan. We have seen a dramatic improvement in the Karachi Stock Exchange, and we have seen Moody's upgrade Pakistan by a notch, and we have seen 5 of Pakistan's major banks being upgraded as well internationally. We have had good success in the Euro bonds. We have had extremely good and visibly satisfying success in attracting Chinese investment into Pakistan. The Chinese have made commitments of massive investment in Pakistan, especially in the energy and infrastructure sectors. We are encouraging the Qataris who are coming in, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and we are confident that if we continue on this path, we will soon have our American friends coming in. But before the American investors come in, I have conveyed to the administration that, as well as to members of Congress, that an initiative that could provide Pakistan better market access, enhanced trade, would also be helpful not only as far as the economy is concerned, but also as far as meeting the challenge of militancy and extremism is concerned as well. Thank you all very much.